Welcome to my tutorial on how to make a 4x4x4 LED cube with the Arduino Uno. In this video I just hope to give you a little bit of clarity, maybe some tips or tricks, kind of what you need, how to build this cube, which is pretty sweet. You can see my other video in the description of it working, so that's going to be the final product. But in this one I'm going to show you how to make it. So without further ado, let's start out with what we're going to need. We're going to need a soldering iron right there. Not too big of a tip. If you don't have one, you'll probably want to buy a smaller tipped one, but this soldering iron wasn't too expensive. I don't know, we've had it for a long time, but it still works, and it worked fine for this project. So you're going to need a soldering iron as well as some solder. I probably used about half a foot to a foot of solder for this project. Then you're going to need 100 ohm resistors. That's what I use, and it works perfectly fine. You're only going to need 4 of them, but I got 50 of them because it was $1 on eBay, and I was like, why not? Might as well. And then you're going to need some wire snippers, as well as some needle nose, unless you have something like this on the end that'll be able to manipulate the LEDs easily. But you're going to need some wire snippers, and then you'll need a Arduino Uno. Right here, it's going to have 14 outputs and 6 inputs, which is perfect for this LED cube because it's going to have 16 grounds and 6 positives, so it makes 16 needs and 16 pins, so it's perfect for this project. And then to power and to transfer data between the computer and the Arduino, you're going to need a cord, which is just a standard printer cable, USB cable. It's got a USB on this end, and then it's going to have this type of an end right there. Like I said, it just plugs into a printer, so you don't need to get a new one. If you have a printer cable, it'll work just as well if you don't mind switching between the printer and the Arduino. But yeah, you don't need to go get a new one. If you do, I found some on eBay or Amazon, whatever. And then you're going to need some wiring right here. I have different color wires. Went to Radio Shack, is under $10. I got three decent sized rolls of wire. Make sure it's solid wire and not stranded. It's just a lot easier to plug it into the Arduino. And then you're gonna need there's the 4 resistors, and you also need a perf board right here. You don't need it, but it's really useful if you do get it. And this was like $2 I think at Radio Shack, and this is only half. The other half is over here. So it's about that big, and it was only $2. So really I'm only spending $1 since I cut it in half for this project. $1 for a perf board. It makes it look nice, and it's really easy to wire up. So that's what you're gonna need. I don't think I'm forgetting anything else. You might want to get, I just stripped some household wiring right here, the copper wiring right there on the ends, just to make the cube a little stronger. I just stripped I just got the ground wire out of the household wire and just straightened it out a little bit and put it on there. You could use this kind of wire right here. That's perfectly fine as well, but that's just what I had available at that time, and that's what I used. So I think that's it. If you don't want the Arduino to be connected to the computer all the time, you'll want to get a power jack right there, an adapter from the wall, and you can just plug it in, and after you upload the code, it'll automatically run once you plug it in. I just grabbed one from one drawer, an old one, and wired it up, altered it a little bit, and made it work. So I think that's it. It's really not that expensive. If you already have the Arduino, the LEDs were $4 on eBay. The wire, which doesn't really count, but it's like probably used $1 worth or less. The resistors, like I said, is $1, so I used 8 cents on those. Perf board was $2, like I said. So really, this project probably cost me, outside of the Arduino Uno, which you can reuse again, it probably costed me less than $15, $10. Really cheap, really easy to make. Now with the Arduino, it's $20 on Amazon if you want to grab one of those. You can also grab a kit that's $30. But let's focus on the LED cube. And up next, I'll show you how to make the cube. So the first thing you'll need to do to get this cube going is build a jig out of wood, and basically what that is just a grid that'll hold your LEDs in while you're soldering them. Just makes it a lot easier. If you don't make a jig, it's just not as straight, not as nice looking in the end product. So the first thing you'll get about, I think it's a 3/8 bit, don't bank on that, but you can try it out, just kind of size it up with the LED, but I think it's around 3/8. Might be a little smaller actually, but just so the LEDs are snug in there. And then what you'll do is you'll stick each 16 LEDs, you'll bend the long end at a right 90-degree angle, and then the negative, the shorter end, just leave it standing straight up for now. Do that to all of them, and then you'll be ready to solder them together. So what you'll want to do is, see how I got two here. This, pretend like they're sticking in the hole right now. You'll grab both of these, and you'll want to solder the two together right there, right where they connect. You can see that, not the best, but see how that goes right onto there. You'll solder those together, and then they should stick together. That should be perfect, and you'll have to do that for all of them. And if you start here, you'll want, oh, this is where I started, this end, and I did these soldered that way, that way, that way, and then I went that way, that way, that way, and then each of these lines I soldered there, there, and there. And then I left the columns, which are the negative, the short ends of the LED, down. One thing that was super helpful when I started soldering was that I bent each LED out. So I bent it at a right 90 degree angle, and I bent it down just outside of where the LED stopped. So when you have one stacked on top of the other, it doesn't run into the top, but it goes to the side of the LED. And then the next one is done the same way, so you just solder those right beside the LED instead of having to curve around the LED. It just made it super a lot easier. So yeah, you just build it up, and after you get one layer done, you will solder the columns together. You'll want to do the corners first on all of them, and then you'll go into the middle and do them. It's a lot easier than it looks. It just takes some time, so be patient with it, and you'll get it done. Didn't take too long, probably about half an hour to an hour for me. Now I'm not even that good at soldering, so shouldn't take too long. Once you build the cube, you'll stick it into the perf board, and then I bent the LEDs so it just stay in there easier, and then I wired this. I just color coded them all, and I kept them at the same place just so it'd be easier, nicer looking, easier to troubleshoot if you have to. As you can see, there's the corner one, the next one, and then it starts down here. It's just easier to wire up to Arduino, easier to program if you make everything organized. So yeah, that's that. And I poked them out the top here and then connected them to these wires. And then over here, this down here is going to make the columns, and then this over here is going to make the layers, the positives. And remember, the positive makes up the layers, and then the columns are made up by the negatives. So I just connected a wire from here, and I went down into the perf board and connected it to that 50 or 100 ohm resistor, and then I connected them to the wire. And I did that for each layer. Each of them is connected to a 100 ohm resistor. I wired them right there. As you can see, the resistor right there, and then right there. So there's one last look there. Zoom in a little bit on some of these parts. So that's how I built that and wired it together. Now for the code, and I'll try to put this in the description or upload it somehow that you can get to it really easily, but I'm gonna have the code for you up here, and I'm gonna have where you're gonna connect. So A1 is going to be, see, I have it A1, A2, A3. It's just like a chessboard. I labeled each column has its own name. So this is going to be A1, A2, A3, A4, B1, B2, B3, B4, etc., etc. Just like a chessboard, like I said. And that's what I named them in the program. So I have what you'll connect. You'll connect A1 to 13, A2 to 12, A3 to 11, 9, 8, 7, 6. Those are the output pins. And then down here you'll go to the analog side, which you might not know this, but you can use the analog input pins to use as outputs. So you use each one of those, each 6 of those, and you connect. As you can see, I have the layers here and each individual column up there. So yeah, I'm not going to go through this whole code. Like I said, I'll see if I can upload it. I'm going to get it up there somehow, but I'll get it there for you. I did it in functions just so it's easier to manipulate the main function. So turn off everything is going to call turn off everything function here. It's going to go through there and come back to this function. It's going to go to the next one, flicker on. I'm just going to go and call, there it is, flicker on. It's going to go through this, it's going to return, and so forth and so on. So you can add more functions of this. This is just going to be the main function right here. If you have questions on anything, there's tons and tons of other Instructables. Just Google Instructables 4x4x4 LED cube. There's probably 5 other projects that are super helpful. And if you have any questions with coding or anything, you can shoot me a question or comment or whatever, or you can go on and just Google it on the Arduino forum. There's tons of information on there, tons and tons and tons. Very smart people that talk about stuff on there. Get lots of ideas and stuff from there. So don't just you watch this video, but watch some other ones, get some ideas before you start. But I highly recommend that you try this. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, go for it.